Program, we're looking at personal branding for today's woman. I'm Selikem Akolache Apalu. Once again, you're welcome to the show. Today's woman sees herself as capable of putting her best foot forward for the most sought-after job, for that contract, or for that endorsement. She therefore requires a lot more than looks and intelligence to place her among the best. Sometimes women feel that doing a good job is enough to be recognized and promoted. However, personal branding, according to the experts, is one key factor that can distinguish a person from among their peers. How then do you develop a brand for yourself as a woman in today's competitive world? My resource person for today has a wealth of knowledge to share with you on the program about what personal branding is all about. He is a transformational coach, consultant, and author of the Branding 360, actually. Scofray Nanaya Yeboah is my guest. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here.
I'm honored to be here.
Why branding? Why so much talk about branding? Is it that much in demand?
Well, thank you very much.
Right.
I want to say a very big good evening to your cherished viewers.
Right.
You see, if you take your time to study the developed nations, it is then that you will understand why we talk about them. They didn't just wake up out of the blue and people decide to talk about them. They put in place pragmatic 10 key systems that has facilitated why today, if you want to say anything, you want to mention America. If you want to say anything, you want to mention Singapore. If you want to talk about democracy, you want to mention United Kingdom. If you want to talk about technological advancement, you want to mention Japan. It is not because they woke up one day and they were there. They understood the rudiment of making sure your name stays and it must be associated with something all over the years. That is why branding is a key factor in developing nations, so that we can fine-tune ourselves to doing some things consistently, consciously, pragmatically, putting all instruments and tools together to arrive at a point where when they want to mention, or they want to say, if you want to talk about chocolate, if you want to talk about cocoa, you don't need to mention any other country apart from, say, Ghana. But we've not fashioned, we've not put in place tools, mechanisms, result-oriented programs and policies that will facilitate that idea, which others have used all over these years. That is why we are quick to mention or associate some stuff when you talk about efficiency in cars. You want to talk about German cars. Why? Because consistently they've been able to produce efficient, robust cars all over these years. Because you must have a consciousness of wanting to do it.
So it's a conscious effort and it's continuous.
It's not something you can say, I'm done, I'm done with it. No. You must be conscious. You must have a resource you want to derive. You must have a destination you want to go. It's the process to a destination. When you are dead and gone, people will still refer to you. People will still want to ascribe to you. So branding is a key instrument that is used to develop every nation. If you pick some of the Asian tigers, if you see them run advert on other international media houses, it doesn't mean they don't have ghettos. But they put their best foot forward. They do it consistently to the point where you accept what they are projecting to you, so that when even you enter those countries, you don't see their oddity in the evidence of what they project to you. So it is quite critical, very, very, very demand-driven for a nation like ours, for individuals wanting to be part of living the legacy, making the history. Brand is like building an institution. If you put an institution on sand and the heavy waters come, it will dwindle. So branding is just like taking your time to put brick by brick to build an institution with a dead-end result in mind.
So you have to have that vision.
Absolutely.
Of the kind of brand you want to develop.
Absolutely.
Where does personal branding fit in all this?
You see, in my book 360,
right,
I said that branding is giving definition to a distinction, giving meaning to something unique. And it is this that you, the individual, personal branding is actually you discovering, researching, being conscious of what you want to take a stand for. If it's a service, it's the service you want to render, the uniqueness of the service. And you cannot go into places to talk about certain subject matter when you don't depict it. You cannot be a pastor and you go to places started. I'm not saying you should look superficial, but you must have the ability to meander between situations when the need arise. So you, the individual, and I always say, personal branding resonates first from the mind. It is the reality of a picture of yourself in the mind. It is the practicality of what you have thought of. Things that coordinate with your vision, your mission, and your purpose. These are the cardinal points that gives birth to personal brand.
So a personal brand has to reflect a real the true character of a person
Inside out. So you don't think, so it is a serious business. Personal branding is no joke. It's no go zone area for lazy people. It's no go zone area for people who just want to believe in hype. It is a pragmatic step, being conscious. Look at the one of the music groups that Ghana ever produced, Osibisa. They had to make a conscious effort to carve a niche, Afro band. Whilst the whole Africa was not doing something like that, they said, okay, we cannot go solely with being traditional hip life or high life Ghanaian. It won't be bought in the international market. So let's do a fusion. If I want to sing Christmas carols, I want to sing Christmas songs, let me sing it in my context of, let's say, high life. But
right. Let me butt in here. If I have a certain, like you said, you need to have a certain vision in mind. If I have a certain vision in mind, but that this is the kind of brand I want to have, someone who cares for the vulnerable, and truly within myself, I do not care for the vulnerable, it's not going to work.
You will always, the realities of life there will challenge what you are projecting. Listen, every brand you evolve out of you has its challenging factors to test whether you are a fake brand or you are a true brand as you are projecting. But most often than not, we, or the system we have, hype people. We mistake hyping for branding. They are two different things. Branding is living the practicality of what you have consciously planned. That will syndicate what you want to do, your career, everything you do. There's a correlation with everything you do with your personal brand, which will be tested out there. And if you appeal, it
right.
will come.
So far, what you've been talking about is what is within the individual.
Absolutely.
What about what is outside, what people see outside, the physical appearance and the way you carry it? What about all of that? Where does it come in?
That is where if you are not intelligent enough and you are not conscious and mindful enough, you will fall for what the system put in place. Because if you look away, let's take it, how does society define beauty? Is it really true how society defines beauty? But here we say beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. But society has a way of defining what true beauty is. She must be slender, she must have this artistic and blah, blah, blah. So if you are a person who don't fit into that category, what do? Does that mean you don't matter? Does that mean there isn't a way you can carve a niche for yourself and let people begin to wonder? So after all, this is not all that pertains to beauty as society describes. You are an Excel. So you must find out what designs of materials look good on you. The style, putting up suit on what? The shoes you wear. You must be able to find out what complements your innate person and your physical appearance, so that even when the society wants to use its own measuring instrument for beauty, when it gets to you, they hit a wall because you have transcended that dogmatic system of portraying beauty. So the out there, what you cannot change is what is out there. That is not your strength. Your strength is you understanding what is out there and fashion out your greatest strength, so to be able to sail through. It's not rosy out there, but it is up to you to fashion out what works best for your brand for stepping out there.
Is branding, how much has being confident got to do with branding?
It is one of the key factors that promotes branding. Okay. Confidence emanates from self-love. And you will only be able to fashion out what works for you when you have that self-love. That's what I'm saying. It is a conscious being. It is a conscious dictate that emanates from your mind.
How do you arrive at that self-love?
Accepting who you are.
What if you don't like it?
That is where the challenge is. You can't be what you are not. That is hype. That is faking. So if society says the beautiful woman is this, you must be, I think, 5.6 tall or whatever they give to that definition. You are not even 5. But when people see you being the best you are in what you have, they lose focus on what you are supposed to be, to what you can do and do best. So you must fashion out and deploy all the best of your attributes. You must be someone who understands your strength, your weakness, your opportunities, and your threats. And it is with this SWOT analysis that you can present yourself out there.
And so you need to accept who you are.
If you fail to accept who you are, you're going to live under the shadows of people's description and definition.
Where does mentoring come in here?
Well, mentoring is very important in this dispensation. The only challenge is that we mistaken. Oh, Sally Kem is good. I've seen her on TV and blah blah blah. All of a sudden, I want her to be my mentor. What do you know about Sally Kem apart from TV? What do you know? What else do you know about Sally Kem apart from TV? For which reason you want her to be your mentor? Every mentor must be somebody who understands the nomenclature of human beings. He must be, or he or she must be somebody who might have also sailed through what probably you are presenting to him or her. The person must be somebody that, assuming is a TV person, off TV, off camera, and on camera and off camera, is a character you can still put together. So you just don't say, oh, I'm a mentor because I have gotten the hype of the whole nation and that makes me a mentor for me to mentor others. No. You the mentee. For me, for instance, in my process of working, I don't call anybody mentor. I don't call anybody mentee or protégé. Because I have the consciousness that every human being has a unique signature of the best the person can be.
But sometimes you can have someone who will guide you to discover yourself, especially when you are not well aware of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, which a lot of times most of us are not willing to accept, like you said. You can have somebody guide you.
So there's a difference between having a guide and a mentor. See, for you to accept to be a mentor, you don't make the person a slave to you. 1. 2, you must accept that you don't detect for the supposed mentee. You must accept also that there is a high possibility the person you want to even guide is talented, gifted, maybe ambidextrous than you are. So if you don't even understand all these facets of the person, how do you tend to mentor the person? So it's not just anybody that you call a mentor. It must be somebody who has the requisite skill, the technical know-how to be able to lead you to where you must get to. So being a guy like parents, the fact that you are my mother cannot mean you are my mentor. Because where I want to go, what I'm seeing myself to become, you have not experienced it yet. You are not there. You can best guide me, but you cannot best be my mentor, except where what you were doing falls into what I also intend doing. It is easy for my dad, who is a lawyer, to mentor me if I also want to be a lawyer. You see, probably you are a human rights lawyer, I want to be a criminal lawyer. But the fact that you could give me the rudiments to be astute in the very distinction I want to present myself. So I always have a bit of issue with mentoring. It has become master and slave situation. If you don't follow me, there are those who said, if you don't even read my books, it means I cannot mentor you. But don't forget, we are all coming out with our different giftings, talent, directions, focus. The best you can do for me is to share. And in life, what worked for me might not work for you.
Even if you want to become a doctor, and I'm also a doctor, what worked for me might not work for you. So it is up to me to put to bear whatever worked for me, and you connecting it to your strength and differentiating it with your weakness to fashion out the very best procedures, strategies that works for you.
Branding for today's woman. My guest in the studio is Scofray Nana Yeboah. He is a transformational coach. You were talking about how difficult it is to brand women and why.
Salikem, it is very challenging to coach women. And it doesn't mean they're not coachable, because it takes a lot of effort to coach women than men. Ideally, every woman has about 3 cycles, okay? Before she menstruates, her ovulation period, and after menstruation. All these are biological clocks that can alter her being. Women are both emotional and analytical beings. They think from both left and right of the brain, but mostly work with their emotional self, the emotional part of them. So you must understand the person you want to coach, or the one who wants to subscribe to your coaching program. Understand the person that at this time when she's talking, I know she's emotional. At this time when she's talking, I know she's being analytical. If you fall short of this reality, you will box the two up and assume women are emotional, and you conclude that is not true. And you wouldn't know when she is in a menstrual cycle, going through cramps and stuff, and she approaches you with a difficulty or a challenge. Until you understand her context, whatever you say goes off. So this makes it challenging. But when you begin to work with her, and she gets these tools and realize that, oh, indeed, this is who I am as a woman. This is my challenge. That in a month, I can be 3 different personalities. So I will know how to fashion out myself to make sure that at every time I need this lead or direction or guide, I know the state I am in to receive direction. Other than that, the time you don't expect her to film, she will film. Because something is triggering, it's a hormonal thing. So that makes it challenging or complex. That's what people say women are complex. These are the things that we don't have as men, or we don't do as men. No man thinks from both right and left of his brain. We do one finish, but women does the 2. That's why they are always multitasking than men. So it is with this consciousness that every coach must have. If a woman walks to you, for you to subscribe onto your coaching program, and it comes under branding, you must spend time to deduce all these differences. She might come with a particular issue. You don't quickly solve it, except there is an emergency line on it. Other than that, you must take your time to facilitate her strength, her weakness, her threats and opportunities, the person's background, her school days. It is all important to assess.
You're saying that because women are emotional beings, it can be difficult communicating their brand?
Absolutely. When you don't when at the point you really wish she would be tough on the particular moment, then the tears start dropping. And every situation and its communication, because in branding, in there lies communication, verbally and non-verbal, conscious and unconscious.
So knowing that about yourself as a woman, how do you keep it together so that you can just communicate what you intend to?
Absolutely. This is where I say we must spend time to understand what works for us and what does not work for us. What can I negotiate? What can I align myself with? It's just like understanding your temperament. It's all dovetails into who you are. Know the difference between hype and brand. If you really want to develop your personal brand as a woman, know the difference between hype and brand. I think Offset, I was saying something that if you want to consider a 21st century woman, that person must compare herself to Florence Nightingale or Madame Teresa with a technological advantage. With a technological advantage. How would they have worked, projected themselves, carried themselves in this dispensation? Even looking at what they used to do and what they've done. So these are the things you must look at. And I said, branding or personal branding is not for lazy bats. It's not for ordinary people. And let's not mistaken that only what you wear projects who you are. No, what you say as well.
What you say? How much of what you say?
It's interdependent. Because you cannot, okay, I'm a media person, everybody sees Selikem all the time. Pardon me if I use it for my examples. Because there's too much hype for media personalities, especially for the women. Oh, she's a newscaster and she's a host. And so people only relate to Selikem of the media personality. Except your classmates, your family, or your close friends, who off media can still relate with you and does not see media in you. So that is where you can build in the real you that can still augment and facilitate your career. Being who you really are, intrinsic, so that when it falls out there, and you see, branding is a consistent thing, something you do and do well over time. I've been saying, when you mention Steve Jobs, what comes to mind? Apple.
Yeah.
When you mention Bill Gates, what comes to mind? Microsoft. That is it. So you can still find Steve Jobs in Apple, and you'll find Apple in Steve Jobs. That is why any moment you mention that name, you want to see that personality. So how are you able to fashion that your being, your personality, can still correlate with what you say, what you do? You cannot be all the fine-faced lady on TV, and when it's time for you to relate with people, you begin to be choosy. And apparently, those who want you as a mentor, as referred, are not those who are well-to-do or who are already there. They are the up and coming. And they're the people you don't choose. So, total brand makes sure that your ultimate result is the people.
But how important is it for a brand, like you said, maybe someone in the public eye, to have that personal brand? Because for all you know, the person is content with doing their job and wants to move on and carry on and do their normal thing. They don't want to be involved in speaking with people and getting in touch with people and mentoring and all of that.
If everyone understands the 21st century, it is not the time of seclusion. It is not a season or a period of me, myself, and I. In my book, Branding 360, I discuss something on social media and your brand. When you set a Facebook account, let me see for example, there is the name part, there is the career part, there is that. That makes you a product. That is why when you go onto the shelves of a supermarket, whatever you pick, you want to read. You understand me? Then, what you keep on writing, your kinds of friends, your consistent sharing thoughts from people, and begins to give people a character you are. Just like after reading something on, let's take a biscuit or something, it is now left with the content. That is why when the date, if you don't see the date is expired, sometimes the content tells you what you're taking is expired product. So your character, which is what you keep on consistently writing, that is why what you say is important. You don't say you are this per your description on your social media, and what you write conflicts what you say you are. So it is key. You can't say I want to be secluded. If you have nobody to mentor, you have your kids to mentor. If you have nobody to mentor, there is somebody in your office who looks up to you, who wants to look up to you. But if you are not open kind of person, you are secluded. And nobody lives as an island. So I said this in my book, Branding 360, that people you call friends or social media friends are equal stakeholders on your wall. So you cannot say, this is my wall. When you open the account, Facebook suggests friends for you, and you choose among them. Because there are people you want them to be part of, like we have opened a bank account.
Exactly.
They become part of you. So every decision you take, you factor into it your clients. And the people you call friends on your social media platform are your clients. So you can't say it's your wall. Except you don't have the right orientation, understanding, and knowledge of personal branding.
What about for women who feel that, well, I'm not in the public eye, I'm not a celebrity, there's no point, there's no need for me to brand myself?
See, there is this, I'll come back to the misconception. Being a celebrity does not mean you are a brand. If you look at the case of Oscar Pistorius of South Africa, the moment it came out that he has committed an atrocity, all people who subscribe to him or have him as a brand